Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to check out Moongrave Fane with a solo Magicka Sorcerer build. I'm Alcast from alcasthq.com. Make sure to subscribe and ring the bell. I will be explaining the setup that I run a little bit and showcase the boss fights and explain them so you actually understand what's going on and why I do certain things. So you actually can also try to learn it and do it yourself. The build is on the website, link in the description below. This boss fight was actually fairly difficult because the hitbox is so big and the mobs spawn, and it's actually quite hard to target them properly sometimes, so you really need your AoE abilities and ultimates to do the job. Now, rule number one with any build and you're soloing stuff, keep your shield up. As you can see, I've Hardened Ward and I also run the Ice Heart monster set. It is hands down the best choice because the extra shield it gives bolsters your health so much. The enemies just can't get to your health in case you forget to like apply Hardened Ward for a second and so on. Because here, if the boss stomps and a mob heavy attacks you, you actually can't die, so you get a lot of damage. And another thing, if the boss glows goldish, you need to go to one of these orange platforms, activate the synergy, and then heavy attack the red orb. When you do that, the orb will explode and all that blood will get sprayed onto the boss and he will stop. You could also just spam shield till the boss is done. It will take longer, but that's another option you have here. The second boss is fairly simple. Make sure to be careful of his AoE attacks, but if you keep your Hardened Ward up, no problem. As you can see here, I always use Elemental Drain. That gives me more sustain and a lot of extra damage. And you see, either Ice Heart shield is up or Hardened Ward. I never let my shields drop. The cool thing about Sorc is, if you actually, even if you keep spamming Hardened Ward, you will still get the Crystal Fragment instant proc, which deals an insane amount of damage. That's why this setup is so strong. Even if you go defensive, you still can push quite a bit of damage. This is a shield phase. Just keep damaging him, will be fine. There's a few mobs. You can kill them. I would just recommend saving your ultimate and then kill all at once. Or just kill them one by one. The boss is fairly slow, the AoEs can be avoided fairly easy. The only thing you have to be careful of, if he drains one of these orbs, do a heavy attack on it. Same with the first boss. And then the blood will get splashed all over the field and he kinda can't drain it to regain health. That's pretty much the only mechanic. Sometimes he does a heavy attack that hits pretty hard, but you can just dodge roll it. Dodge roll is one of the most OP mechanics because with blocking you still might get fairly decent damage to you. Dodge rolling, 0. So a 100k hit can turn into a 0 damage hit for you because that's simply how dodge roll works. But yeah, you see, there is not that much going on. Just make sure to keep up your AoE abilities, kill the trash mobs, and then boss should be dead. Next up, we have this Keshite Werewolf or whatever that thing should be. Now, he doesn't really do a lot of damage, but he has his heavy attack that you either should dodge roll or block, but just make sure to keep your shield up. Now he does the slam. When he does that, you cannot really damage him anymore. There is lava guys here, so you could pluck them with the 2 cubes left and right, but honestly, just kill the trash mobs and keep your shield up, because the lava doesn't really do a lot of damage and the boss can't really hit you too, because he's busy smashing the ground. So during that phase, just focus the trash mobs and you will be fine. Same thing here. Make sure to keep up your buffs and debuffs, like Elemental Drain on the boss. It always needs to be there. It increases your sustain and damage by a crazy amount. Then on the back bar you have things like the Boundless Storm. Get a little bit of movement speed, but also increase the resistances, so you take less damage from all the abilities. And obviously the Surge ability, which heals you every second, because we have a really high crit rating with this setup. It's fairly easy. And again, on the website I actually do have like a Bastion slot setup, an advanced setup and a beginner setup, so I made sure that the gear is fairly easy to get, even if you don't have like access to trials and so on. So you can see there's quite a lot of AoE and trash mobs. Just try to kill the trash mobs and keep your shield up. If you keep the Scamp, so the ability that I have on the 5th slot, after 8 seconds the last pulse stuns all trash mobs. So that's a nice way to actually get some breathing room, because once you're stunned they can't damage you anymore. Once the boss is out of his stomp phase, you can damage him again, so make sure to focus on him during that phase and kill him as fast as possible after that. Now, the thing is, you should be aware, like if you have sustain issues, you can just do heavy attacks. Shield, heavy attack, shield, heavy attack, and you're not going to die. But if you combine your potions properly and you do your heavy attacks, or elemental drain, it's never really an issue. Another thing, that generation, I would always recommend keeping this on the boss. First off, you get Magicka Sorcerer from it. Then you also, every time you do a light or heavy attack, you actually will get Magicka back. So it's a very strong ability and deals a lot of damage. Then we have Grunt Wolf and Nizatsta. This was actually the most difficult fight in the whole dungeon, because there's just so much incoming damage. Not necessarily from the bosses, but there will be ads that spawn. And it's just, they have really high health, so it takes a while to kill them. And Grunt Wolf keeps using like Wrecking Blow or Dizzying Swing on you to stun you, which is also very annoying. So what I did was, I made sure to save my ultimate for when Nizatsta actually spawns the big boy mob, so I can just burn it down, basically like this gargoyle there. Now I drop all my AoE effects and the ultimate, so he actually dies fairly fast, as you can see. The ghosts, as long as they have a red bubble around them, you cannot damage them, so you need to use the orb again. Spray the blood over them so they lose the shield. That's a mechanic. Once the shield is gone, they die fairly fast. And you really have to learn to kite around, because you can see Grunt Wolf is a melee enemy or melee boss. If you keep moving around, he has a hard time actually dealing damage to you, because he has to like be in melee range to hit you. But yeah, focus the mage first and then focus Grunt Wolf. They both have fairly decent amount of health and there's just so much incoming damage. So you really need to be aware with this boss, and Ice Heart is definitely going to help here. Very important. This actually took me a few tries, because I was just surprised at how much incoming damage there was. And remember, you need to do light attacks between abilities. Light attacks deal like 15 to 22% of your overall damage. So you really need to learn to do the light attacks between each ability.
No, the fool's gone for the dragon. You've got to stop it.
The last boss fight is actually fairly easy. You need to make sure to just damage him at the start. He doesn't really do a lot of damage. Just keep your shield up, no problemo. Rotate your dots and he will be good to go. AoE attack, you can just... it's so easy to avoid, and all the AoE on the ground. Now when the boss teleports behind the cube, you need to heavy attack it. So it gets pushed away and the boss gets hit by the flames of the dragon. If red ghosts spawn, they have a red bubble around them again. Go to the red bubble on this sun field, throw it against them with the blood spray, and they will be damageable. Basically like in the previous boss fight. This pillar, if you get drained by it, you need to get close to it. In that green field, you're safe, because it actually deals quite a bit of damage. So you kind of want to make sure, if you're in there, go more defensive, so you actually can face tank the boss. At some point there is also a bigger red that spawns, but it dies fairly fast, so yeah. He has a heavy attack, block or dodge roll it. And make sure to have your shield up. But other than that, there is not really anything that difficult. Again, the same thing. Keep kiting, keep moving around to avoid all these AoEs. If you keep moving around, you will have no issues. And now, again, the boss is already dead. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I will do more search videos, remember. And the build is already on the website, and I will also work on more builds. This will be a slow, steady progress where I want to make sure like that you have a choice between group builds and solo builds. Because solo builds, you want a little bit more defense stats, self-healing and all that stuff. And obviously there is a lot of good options in terms of gear that is easy accessible that you can use. Anyway, if you want, you can check out more videos on YouTube. Please make sure, do not forget to subscribe and hit the like button if you enjoyed this or you found it useful. That would be very much appreciated. Till then, for any updates, you can always join our community Discord or just check out my website, which is my main hub area. Thanks for watching and see ya soon.